ranking every Doctor in Doctor Who's New Who era. Now, there's a lot of good things about every Doctor, so they're all pretty beloved. But this is a scale within all of the New Who Doctors so far, as of today. 2024. We haven't seen all of the 15th Doctor yet. He's still here. He hasn't regenerated, so there's still plenty of time for him to get better or worse. And people at the 14th Doctor aren't technically dead yet, and Doctors can come back from the dead all the time, so maybe they'll come back and be even better than before. So, this pending changes, but this is how I feel about all the Doctors at this current minute. Starting at the bottom in E tier, we have the 14th Doctor. Maybe I'm being too harsh, but I am struggling greatly whenever I see people say this is their favourite Doctor. It's like 10, but fixed. Guess what? The most interesting thing about 10 is that he is so broken. And it's almost very inconsistent as to whether he is fixed or not. He gets hung up on things constantly. He seems to be emotionally unstable. Obviously he goes to therapy at the end of the specials, but I just don't see this Doctor making any sense coming off Jodie Whittaker's Doctor. She regenerates with a real sense of hope, and then this crazy guy comes out with an old face that he's obsessed with finding out there is one. We all were too. And then they don't really explain why. Obviously, there's that weird throwaway line of, "Oh, you got your old face that you could come home to me," says Donna. But that seems a bit vain on Donna's part, assuming that it's all about her. If the Toymaker had said, commentary on fans being obsessed with the Tennant era and needing to let go, that would have been really interesting. And I feel like if Moffat or someone had done it, it would have been like that. But no, it's kind of came back. And it doesn't really make any sense given that he's after Jodie. If this Doctor came after Peter Capaldi when the Doctor was at his very much lowest, after Twice Upon a Time, or before Twice Upon a Time, it would have made a bit more sense. But I think giving this guy a number is such a weird disservice. Either she should have degenerated into the 10th Doctor, because he basically plays it exactly the same as the 10th Doctor. When we saw the composite suit, I was really excited. I thought, maybe Tennant, who's a very good actor, will be doing some kind of new interpretation who's a mix of a bunch of different Doctors. He refers to a bunch of different Doctors' stuff, but he is very much 10. He could have acted more like silly Matt Smith, or maybe he could have been angrier like Capaldi. But no, he just kind of is there, and then he doesn't learn any lessons. He stops travelling through time, but he keeps the TARDIS, so he doesn't actually stop travelling through time. He learns no moral lessons. He gets everything he could ever want, and a slice of cake on top. I just think this Doctor is a waste of a regeneration, really. And, with the news that he probably won't come back, I know obviously Doctor Who actors constantly lie all the time. It feels like such a waste. The only good thing about him existing is if he came back and helped Ncuti. But I don't think that would be good either, because it would undermine Ncuti's existence. And him existing still undermines whether he or the 15th Doctor is the real Doctor, and whether they have the real TARDIS. I'm pretty hung up on about it, and I know a lot of people just have moved on. But it's so unnecessary. All you had to do to write a good ending is he's going to stay on Earth and recover, and the 15th Doctor's taken his TARDIS. It's really easy. And it's like, why isn't he helping? He's not helping because he doesn't have a TARDIS. He doesn't know what's going on. But there you go. That's the 14th Doctor. Slap bang in E tier. I can't stand him existing. Moving on to D tier, we have the Meta Crisis Doctor, or 10-2, I think even sometimes called Colin, I don't remember. Either way, Meta Crisis Doctor is very similar to the 14th Doctor, which is why it's so apt that they're so close together. Except for the fact that they explain where he comes from, there's a reason behind his weird erratic behaviour, he gets an ending of decent proportions. He gets the same ending, actually, as the 14th Doctor, now I think about it, but without a TARDIS. I know obviously there was that deleted scene of him being able to grow his own TARDIS, but, I always felt that was more like a hopeful pipe dream. Like, maybe we'll see Narnia again rather than actually expecting it. It did feel like this would have been Eccleston. Like, if Eccleston had left on good terms, then Tennant would have left her with a copy of Eccleston, and it's very much David Tennant attempting to do a grumpy Doctor, which he did better after this episode with the Time Lord Victorious stuff in the Waters of Mars. I think that he's fine. He's a one-episode wonder. He didn't overstay his welcome. There's a reason why he exists. I wouldn't really want to see much more from him. I think if you wanted to bring back David Tennant to save the franchise, they should have brought back the Meta-Crisis Doctor as a villain, and that would have made the fans go, and we could have still had David Tennant all over the posters and all over the trailers, being nice and cute. Could have revealed himself to be a baddie. But there we go. Meta-Crisis Doctor is out there with Rose Tyler in Bad Wolf Bay, hanging out forever until Break the Glass. We need the franchise, but I guess they broke the glass and just took David Tennant out and left the baggage of the Meta-Crisis Doctor behind. Yeah, it's fine. I wish he didn't exist, but I'm fine with him existing. I wish they used him better moving forward and didn't forget about him. The next, also in D tier, is his twisted sister, the Dr. Donna. Now, this is very much a critique of the Dr. Donna existing rather than Donna. I think Donna's a brilliant companion. But the Dr. Donna, it kind of devalued Donna, I feel, a little bit, because Donna was so special because of how human and lovely she was and how brilliant she was as a person. And then it felt like, oh, the only way that we could save the day with Donna at the end was to give her the brain of David Tennant. I think the only redeeming quality of the whole Dr. Donna thing, and the thing which distracts most people, including me when I'm not thinking about it, is how brilliant her departure was, having to have that taken out of her head. And so how sad it was saying goodbye. That sadness of the ending distracts you from the sort of undervaluing of Donna, because I think Donna could have found a way to be helpful without having to shove a Time Lord brain in her head and putting her on fire. It's a real shame, really. And then the whole thing with the 60th anniversary, her just letting it go. I don't think that from the depiction at the end of Series 4, letting it go was really an option. It seemed to be exploding her head, as was seen in the Master episode following this. I think maybe they should have just said that by having a daughter, the energy was split between two people, so it wasn't quite as dangerous as it used to be. But there we go. That's my writing hat on, which I haven't put on for a little bit. But yeah, the Dr. Donna, fine. Not as good as Donna, which is the real downside. You know, when Rose became the Bad Wolf, it was like 2 seconds, whereas this, you had to listen to the Catherine Tate do the David Tennant impression, and you had to listen to the David Tennant doing the Catherine Tate impression for the back half of the episode, and it was not as good as her normal, perfect, wonderful companion self. D tier, for sure. Moving up to C, we have another weird entry to the list. It's the 14th Doctor. Played by Sacha Dhawan in The Power of the Doctor, the Master forced the Doctor to regenerate into him. I'm not sure how this counts, if we ever are going to go back to counting regenerations properly, but here we are. He took the body and he walked around in it, you know. He was the Doctor for a little bit before she forced a degeneration, which obviously would have really easily explained degenerating into 10, but there we go, moving on. I think Dhawan was brilliant. I think if they had more of an episode, then it would have been brilliant. And the plan that the Master had was terrible, which is one of the main downsides of this incarnation, because what was he planning to do? Do naughty things and say the Doctor did it? He's just done that in his own body before. The benefit of the Doctor having infinite bodies and faces is that you can do anything and just say, I'm the Doctor, and people can't really doubt you. So, you know, disappointing plan, which is why he's down here in C instead of much higher. But he did a real good job. I love that cross-Doctor monster mash of an outfit that he put together, and having a weird, horrible, like mean relationship with a companion is a fun dynamic for the show to try once or twice. And here it is. It was done very well by a naughty little rotter that was the 14th Doctor. I think, you know, he's firmly C. I think Sacha Dhawan should come back to the show soon, please, especially if he comes with that outfit. Degenerating ourselves back to the 13th Doctor, also in C tier. Yeah, Jodie's fine. Like, she's not bad. She really isn't bad. And if I did this a couple of years ago, maybe I'd have put her at the bottom of the list. But she did a good job of doing sort of a generic Doctor vibe. Occasionally in some episodes she does a real good, brilliant line or two. It's hard for me to feel particularly strongly against her, because I think she's just kind of funny. And I don't think that's always intentional. I really don't. But I think the character being so wishy-washy and flim-flammy and having such a weird morality system, it's quite doctory. You know, we always talk about, oh, the Doctor wouldn't kill a spider. The Doctor does weird stuff all the time. David Tennant drowned a bunch of spiders under London. I think the 13th Doctor is a waste of potential. I think Jodie is a very good actress. I would love to see her back. with better writers to really get some juice out of her. So it's hard to hate her, but it's hard to love her. So that's why she's down in C with her next form, the Master. The last entry in C tier might as well be called the Chibnall tier at this point. It's the Fugitive Doctor, a brilliant actress who does a great performance, has an amazing outfit, a great TARDIS design. It's a real shame that they didn't really do anything with her. They opened up lots of questions of her about the Timeless Child and all that, but they didn't give many answers, and I don't think we're going to get any time soon. Wasting her as like a hologram and just a flashback in Flux when we could have actually got to know the character a little bit more in detail is a real waste, but the actress is so good, and you just feel like this is the Doctor. She's the Doctor, and she's maybe more of the Doctor than Jodie, which is kind of sad, I think, because she had the better vibes, and in a few minutes she's just sort of like gives off that very intimidating I am the Doctor type music. If this was the Moffat era, it would have the I am the Doctor blasting out whenever she's around. It's very much a vibes alone check, but she passes the check, and that's how she manages to be top of C tier. If she'd ever done anything particularly useful in the show outside of mystery box opening, then maybe she'd be a lot higher. But, you know, we've got Big Finish, maybe they'll do something amazing with her. Or maybe we could just bring her back. I think her and the 15th Doctor could have some cool adventures while still exploring the stuff opened by the 13th. C tier up to B. It's another weirdo, it's the War Doctor. Now, this Doctor had no right to be so good and had no right to exist, really. He's the most obvious, this should have been Eccleston outside of the Meta-Crisis Doctor. But John Hurt came in, he did a very good job with what he had to do. I was expecting an angry, evil incarnation of the Doctor, and he's just a sad old Doctor who wants to stop fighting, and I think that adds a lot of depth to it. And he's almost, in that episode, he's more of the Doctor than both David and Matt Smith, because he's just got such a good heart. And you still believe that he would do the bomb and end the Time War, but he doesn't seem so happy about it. And I think it's a real nice transition into Eccleston. It's a messy fix, but it's a fix that worked. And it's the kind of writing that I think, you know, more of the Doctors that I've complained about needed, where it's sort of like, we just have to do this. We have to do this messy fix to make it work for you, the fans, so that you can have a nice television program without sort of teasing what is the greater mystery. They just had to do it, and it worked. And he's bottom of B. With, you know, if John Hurt hadn't passed away, maybe we'd have seen more. But he was very good in the time we had with him. So firm B from me. Next, the hardest to place Doctor on this list, I think, the 11th Doctor. Now, the 11th Doctor is kind of like Schrodinger's Doctor. He is either the best Doctor you've ever seen, or the worst, and it very much depends on what particular episode you're watching. He can go from a beautiful speech, like his regeneration speech, like stuff that he's done earlier on in the show, in like his 5th season, or some of the worst, horrible stuff you've ever heard in the 6th season. Like, it's ridiculous, the coin toss of quality that Matt Smith is dogged by. And he's a very good actor, but you can sort of tell when he was tired at the end of his run of Doctor Who, because it just doesn't feel like his heart's in it as much all the time. And sometimes it's there. It's a real 50-50 as to whether you're going to watch an amazing 11th Doctor episode or an awful one. And for that reason, I think he's firmly in the middle of this entire Doctor Who tier list, because sometimes I can't get enough of him, and sometimes I wish he'd go away forever. He's such a good actor, though. As a kid, I was sick of him for a long time, throughout the 6th and the 7th series. I was begging for a regeneration, but when he left in that final episode, he got me to cry, because he's so good. I love Matt Smith. I would love for him to come back. I know he wants to. He's a brilliant actor, but I just think we need to pair this Doctor up with some good writing, as has happened many times, and you've got a diamond here. But give him an inch and he'll fall a mile. I think the 11th Doctor is quite hard to pin down as a particular. You'd have to just rate every era of 11th Doctor, and they'd fill up half the list in different slots. But yeah, that's where I'm putting him, middle B. Much like Matt Smith, who had high highs and low lows, the next Doctor is a one to watch. It's the 15th Doctor, our current bouncing baby boy. He's wonderful. I love the 15th Doctor, but he's just too new. You know, we haven't had enough of him. I think in the very brief time that we've had with him, he's amazing. And if he keeps it up to his last day, easy A, maybe even up to S, but it's too early to tell. You know, Matt Smith's first series alone is, you know, sort of maybe AS quality doctoring, followed by a couple of years of not so hot stuff. So if the 15th Doctor can carry on, and I'll be clear now, I'm not judging the actor's ability, I'm judging the sort of the success of it. And if you have the best actor in the worst film, the film doesn't get that much better just for the actor being in it. But I think Ncuti is amazing. I think the 15th Doctor as a character is very consistent and very emotional and very open and free and honest. I think this would have been the perfect regeneration to come straight after the 13th Doctor with her message of hope and happiness and sort of letting go of her baggage. I think Jodie into Ncuti would have made a lot of sense, and I'm really happy with how the 15th Doctor has been portrayed. Even though I don't love all of his episodes, I love him in all of his episodes, and that's what counts. And I think I'm excited for the future, and I hope that he keeps up the momentum. I hope we get a bit more time with him as well. I know he's like the busiest man these days, so much work coming to him after Barbie. Hopefully we get a few more years out of this Doctor yet. The next Doctor is another short but sweet. It's Doctor Who from World Enough in Time at the end of the Capaldi era. If Sacha Dhawan's master is indeed after Missy, which I know is obviously a contentious point for people, then it makes no sense to me that he's done such a bad job impersonating the Doctor, because Missy showed that she fully understands what being the Doctor's all about. His name is Doctor Who. He has a comedic relief character and an exposition character. You know, that's the whole thing. She knew all of the beats. She saved us valuable seconds in real time. It's a real shame that we don't get much of this. I think this could have easily been an entire episode of a Missy-led Doctor Who adventure. It's not a waste, it's just a shame that it had to come at such a pivotal moment in the series. Maybe one of those 3 Pyramid episodes could have been a Missy Doctor Who adventure, which would have led quite nicely into the finale. But there we go. I like her as Doctor Who, and I'm glad that we got the final full confirmation that his name is properly Doctor Who and not the Doctor. We can finally change all the wiki pages and update that very soon. So that's the first A tier entry. Another rotter coming in A tier, it's the Dream Lord. You may wonder, why does this count? Well, the 11th Doctor said that the Dream Lord was him, and therefore if he's him, he must be a Doctor. And I love the Dream Lord. For a one episode wonder, it's just such a shame they've never brought him back in any way. And I think, you know, he could be easily overused, but I think he does such a good job with the little time he has on screen. He dominates the room in the same way that all good Doctor actors do. His outfit is just such a fun little perversion of the Matt Smith one. I just love everything about this character. The way he plays his sadistic games and has fun banter. It's just a great, he would have been a great casting for a master. The fact that they chose to do something different with him and this little Dream Lord, the dark side of the Doctor, it's really fun. And I think, you know, if we ever have to do some kind of evil regeneration, maybe the Dream Lord should be involved in somehow. I just love that he exists, even if it's just in the back of 11's head. As all people who have self-hating issues can relate to, I love the idea of the fact that the Doctor hates himself so much that he would create an evil villain version just to punish himself. Next comes the 10th Doctor. Now, the 10th Doctor is an icon. Say it, you know, if you love him or hate him, he is Doctor Who. There's a reason why they brought him back. There's a reason why when David Tennant's back, everyone who quit the show 10 years ago goes, oh, I might give that a watch. The 10th Doctor lives and breathes Doctor Who. The fact that he's a fan means so much. The fact that he's willing to come back at the drop of a hat. He loves the franchise. His wife is a Doctor Who character. His dad-in-law is another Doctor. You know, it's so much a part of David Tennant that he'll never escape it, and I'm glad that he doesn't seem to be upset by that, because his character is wonderful. The 10th Doctor, everyone dumps on him for being emotionally unstable and selfish and vain. Yeah, he is. That's like part of the character. He was written that way. He's the lonely god because he thinks he's the lonely god. He doesn't need to be. He could have opened himself up a long time ago. But he's dealing with all that Time War trauma, and I think it's excellent. It's an excellent portrayal. People like 14 more because he's like a more emotionally aware 10. The cool bits about 10 is how crazy he is. He's unstable. He, you know, when he was born for Rose. He was made out of regeneration basically as a package gift for Rose Tyler as a thank you for saving him in the universe. And he got a whole year, I say year, whatever, a series of adventures with her, and he lost her. He was made for one purpose, to love Rose, and then he had to figure out what the hell is he going to do with himself after. And it took a long time for him to get there. Tennant is one of the best actors to ever be the Doctor, and he's given the meat to do stuff with. Jodie's a good actress, but she didn't have any meat to work with in terms of chewy scenes. Her episodes are a lot of exposition and you know, a lot of shared time with her companions. 10 gets good speeches, not at the expense of his companions, because you could argue that Martha and Donna get a bit more meat than most of the companions do, but 10 did such a good job at making the exposition quick and funny. Technobabble, it sounds like everything he says must be real because he said it. It's just such a good authority figure, and he is Doctor Who, which is it's for better and worse. It's hard to escape the shadow of David Tennant over the franchise, but those series hold up so very well. If he wasn't so forced down people's throats just as an image, then I think a lot more people would be more positive towards 10, like they used to be about 10 years ago when everyone was begging for him to come back. I don't think any fans are begging for him to come back anymore, but it's a real statement that he's made, that he basically is much like Tom Baker. He's the face of the franchise, even though he hasn't been here properly since 2010. It's ridiculous. But that's why I'm firmly putting him at the top of A tier. He is the A-class Doctor. Maybe unfair because he was here in such a short amount of time, but the Ninth Doctor, I think, just squidges a little bit ahead of 10th for me, just because he's so perfect. He has a short series, but Christopher Eccleston does an amazing job with the scripts he's given. He eats up every scene. He made you scared of him and love him and miss him. I cried when he regenerated. I said I didn't want this funny-looking suited man. I wanted my gritty Ninth Doctor. And he isn't that gritty. You remember him as miserable, but he's funny. He's light, he's sweet, he's charming, he's great episodes. There's a reason why him and Rose fell in love, and it wasn't 10 that fell in love with Rose. It was 9 that won her over. 10 was just sort of a perk that she got, like a sexy suit boy. But the Ninth Doctor and her have such good chemistry, and you just get it. And he has great chemistry with Jack and everyone else in his era. I think the Ninth Doctor so firmly establishes what it means to be alien and warm and loving at the same time. The Time War trauma doesn't feel like it's here to make him look cool. Like some of the Time Lord stuff with 10 is sort of like, I'm Time Lord victorious and I'm going to save every one of you and I'll kill all the Daleks or whatever. The Ninth Doctor just sad. He's sad. He didn't want to do the Time War. He doesn't like the Daleks existing. He's sad of it, and he was going to blow up the Earth at the end to kill the Daleks, and he chooses the right choice. It's really impactful. He's not here for a long time, but he's here for a good time, and I think the Ninth Doctor is firmly S. I haven't listened to his Big Finish stuff, so maybe it does or doesn't hold up, but I think he was a brilliant Doctor, and we wouldn't have this franchise without him. I know 10 built it and made it last, but the Ninth Doctor set the stage for what would be one of the biggest franchises, not just in the UK, but America love it too. So yeah, thank you, Ninth Doctor. How dare anybody keep trying to skip you for no particular reason. And the last Doctor on this list, the 12th Doctor. He's everything. He's the final Doctor. If you think of Doctor Who, to me, the 12th Doctor is the definitive last Doctor. You might run around with David Tennant when you're young, but if you have to think about where it should have ended, I feel like the 12th Doctor is the definitive final Doctor. He's at the end of his rope in so many ways. He wants to be a better man, and he fails in some ways and succeeds in others. Him and Clara's chemistry is insane. The love story that they did there was a ridiculous improvement on the 10 Rose story. I think the way Moffat writes the Doctor, I think a lot of his 11th Doctor stuff can come off as cringe, and I don't know whether it was Moffat improving or Capaldi just being so good that he could carry it off. But I find almost all of the cool Doctor stuff works for this Doctor, where it just doesn't for others. He made being, an older Doctor cool, and I think it was really interesting casting to get away from 20-year-old sexy Tumblr boys to move to a real man, and to bring the show to a not more mature, because it's about not so much more mature, because the storytelling is still excellent in the 11th era and the 10th era, but it was to a place where it was very different, and I think the 12th Doctor is just a treasure, and I could do with 10 more years of 12th Doctor adventures. And I'm sad that Capaldi doesn't want to come back, but also I'm more sad at the people who keep begging him to, because he left on such a high. I fear the only way is down because of how good Series 8, 9, and 10 are. Wobbly episodes aside, there's always a few duds in every series, even the best ones. So yeah, the 12th Doctor is brilliant, and I think there's nothing I'd change about him. He's just commanding and loving and warm and funny, and he brings the alien element that 9 did really well to the forefront. I think 11 didn't always succeed at making you feel like he's an alien. He did the good old man, young man body thing that everyone always praises Matt Smith for. But the 12th Doctor brought in sort of a divide between what he cares about and what he doesn't care about. And it worked very, very well. And I think a lot of the episodes for 12th era wouldn't have worked without Capaldi. And I think the 12th Doctor is such a beautiful addition to the franchise that I can't get enough of him. This isn't purely like nostalgia. At the time, I wasn't 100% sure where they were going with the character when I was watching it week to week. It's very much one of those characters that's better on the binge, whereas I feel like maybe the 10th Doctor is probably the best on the week to week because he's just a universal party pleaser. But the 12th Doctor, when you can see the whole of his arc from 8 to the end of 10, man goes through a massive change and a massive journey. And he grows, and he falls, and he stumbles, and he gets back up, and then eventually he just can't get back up anymore. And I think that's such a powerful version of the character. But that's it. I'm putting him top of S, and that's my ranking list for all the Doctors. Honourable mentions, I guess, would be the Curator, who I'd pop above maybe the Fugitive Doctor and C. It was a joke, cute fan wink to the camera, which is nice. Dr. Moon, who I know Stephen Moffat and Russell at one point thought might be the final incarnation of the Doctor, the one that's in the library helping out Riversong and co in the computer, probably bottom of C. I imagine the script would have changed quite a lot if he had planned to be a future Doctor. He's fine. You know, he doesn't do anything particularly interesting, and so I find it hard to get that excited about the idea of him being a secret Doctor. But yeah, probably bottom and top of C for those two. And if I've missed more secret or half Doctors, just let me know. Oh, John Smith, if we're including human David Tennant for the 4th David Tennant on the list, I'd say John Smith would probably be above the War Doctor. He came in, he had one episode, but he made such a heroic sacrifice that he makes a mark, I think, rather well. But yes, that's my quick run through of all the Doctors. And yeah, let me know in the comments, do you agree? How strongly do you disagree? And what are you excited for of the next series of Doctor Who with Ncuti? And if you want a little Peter Capaldi to sit on your desk or any other Doctor Who cards, I'm going to be giving away and selling Doctor Who Magic the Gathering cards over on Whatnot this weekend. Get some freebies, get some packs, get some awesome stuff to add to a growing collection. Peter Capaldi's Doctor card is actually quite cool. He can clone cards and put cards into yours and an opponent of your choice's hand. It's very funny, and it combines really well with the other stuff from the later New Who era. But yeah, so come along, grab yourself a copy of the Doctor for free. It's a great time to start getting into Magic. We've got a new set that's made for beginners coming around the corner called Foundations, and Marvel's coming next year, so you can have your Iron Man beat up your David Tennant card, and it will be a real good nostalgic reference fair. That's 8 o'clock on Whatnot for my giveaway this weekend. But just come along, you don't have to buy anything. If you just watch for free, you'll be in for a chance of getting the freebies. Otherwise, if you sign up for the first time, you get £10 of free credit to spend though, so you can buy an awesome thing. Go find an old sonic screwdriver toy that somebody's trying to shift and grab it for yourself. Thank you for your time, and remember to subscribe and like and all the other random stupid YouTube things, and have a lovely afternoon.